Thank you very much, Carl. Again, phenomenal presentation. Obviously, you have tremendous experience with the support devices and handling these very complex patients. I think we come towards the end of our webcast, and I want to give everyone on the panel right now the chance to say their final thoughts regarding the last presentation on cardiac arrest management or any other topics we discussed earlier today. So maybe we'll just start with Dan Kolansky and then Dr. Velakapuri and take it from there.
Great, that was a fantastic presentation. My comments would be two. One is preparation and preparation. We've heard that about all of the complications here. Be prepared, lesion preparation, thinking things through. And the comment about the circulatory support is we tend to go fairly quickly to ECMO if we really are in trouble because it really can stabilize the situation. We have the equipment in the lab, we have cannulas ready to go, and then you can always decannulate subsequently once you get the patient stabilized. Thanks.
Thank you, Dan. Poonam?
Go big or go home. Kidding apart, I think very important to know your patient, do a good lesion prep, have a case discussion with somebody senior if you're more early on in your career regarding complex cases and have them available for any complications. And as Dr. Lombardi said, call a friend if you need help.
Thank you. Thanks, Poonam. Lorenzo?
Yeah, I agree. I think most of the possible complication and solution have been covered excellently. So really, you should have mechanical circulatory support devices available if you tackle complex cases, a complex intervention. And having more than one device, as Carl brilliantly showed, is sometimes key to solve cases that where Impella is not enough, like in the case of Ekpella he showed. So go big or go home.
Thank you. Thanks, Lorenzo. Jay, and also maybe if I want to address about the use of Lucas support device if you have in your lab.
We don't have Lucas, so I don't know if I can really comment on that. We get EMS patients transported on Lucas devices, but we don't have one in our lab. I would just make a comment that, you know, you have to have the correct mindset to take care of these patients. If you're going to embark on a complex PCI career, you have to be prepared to meet these complications. It's not like you can wishfully think these away. As Dr. Lombardi indicated, if you do enough of these, you're going to run into these complications. The worst thing that can happen after a bad event is a second bad event. So having a plan in place and being mentally prepared to deal with these issues, I think is what's going to get your patient the best outcome. And it's meetings like this that help spread the word.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jay. Alison? You're muted. Sorry, you're muted still.
Sorry, thank you. I agree that it's key absolutely to be quite familiar with your patient in advance of the case and to anticipate any potential complications that may arise and to prepare for them accordingly. At my center, that's particularly applicable because as much as I agree with everything in terms of the approach to cardiac arrest patients, for instance, that was just discussed, I do not have all of those modalities readily available for me right now. Basically, I'm looking at use of balloon pump and yes, ECMO, but we're not at the stage where we're inserting it in the cath lab right now. So it's a challenge. So you have to be aware of your limits of your particular center as well. And also, I mean, it's an opportunity to work towards change also, and coming to meetings and getting experience with other centers and what they're doing is helpful.
Thank you. Thanks very much, Alison. Robert?
Yeah, so two quick things. Number one, ask for help early and always ask for help. Nobody needs to be on an island, and getting somebody in quickly, even if they just come in and say, hey, you're doing great, and wander back out, it means the world. And number two, quickly treat, quickly. Don't sit there and stare and wonder what's going on. Quickly get somebody stabilized so you can think. No matter how many times we stare at algorithms, it's still really stressful when bad things happen because we're trying to take care of people. And so do whatever you need to do to give yourself a minute or two to think, whether that's stabilize them, whether it's a little bit of neo, it's some fluid, depends on the situation, or it's a device. Give yourself some time to think, and hopefully somebody else is coming in to help you think. So friends and time to think.
Thanks, Rob. I think Dan Kolansky said it best, that this is not good advice for your kids. Act first, think second. That's not good for kids. But if someone is dying in the cath lab, that's the way to go. Thank you so much. And then Ivan.
I'll just add, make sure to continue to reevaluate. You want to assess if you were able to successfully stabilize a patient. Keep reevaluating if there's a secondary cause or if you need to escalate care.
Awesome. Kate?
Yeah, I think just to reiterate, the first thing we're drilling into the fellows as medicine trained people is that this is the one time you need to act first and then think later. And a lot of times it boils down to that something ischemic that I'm doing to cause with my guide causing AI, or I just need to disengage the gear, or is it bleeding, and do you want that quick puff first? And I think that's often the first decision tree. And just having a second operator in the room or training your techs and fellows to really help be an active participant is really helpful. As Dr. Khatri mentioned, these complex cases, you can have a lot of gear and a lot of stuff happening at once, and that partner really makes a world of difference.
Thank you so much, Mauricio.
So we don't have ECMO readily available in the lab. So our first go-to device is usually Impella, and then we have tandem heart, and we can attach an oxygenator. So usually the Impella will give you, I mean, if it's really, not right heart failure, and if it's all LV failure, I mean, the Impella can give you a little bit of time to think and then decide on the next step. It's not easy to put those cannulas in the leg, and you need to know exactly what you're doing, and you have to have impeccable access, because you can do lots of harm and make things worse if you know how to put those cannulas and you don't know what the peripheral, the iliac arteries of the patient are. So many times before I embark in a very complicated case, I usually do like a quick non-contrast CT of the abdomen and pelvis, just to make sure that I have, if I need help and I need support, I know that I can have it. Just 2 cents.
I mean, I think the planning, you can never plan enough, right? I mean, the more planning you do, if things go bad, which can happen, then the best outcomes you're going to have. Thanks, Mauricio. And Carl?
This is actually, this session in general, it's a great session, everybody, great talks, brings to the discussion, are we going to do angioplasty, high-risk angioplasty in every center? We have trauma centers, level 1, level 2, and level 3. And I think as a intervention cardiology societies, and I know you guys are very active with our society, Sky, we need to think about doing complex PCI in centers of excellence. The other thing which comes to mind, there are a lot of centers there, the ECMO only put by the surgeons. And I think it's time for the interventional cardiologists to step in and start doing it, because it's actually, we can do it fast. We can do it elegantly. Similar, I will echo Mauricio comment. If you have to do it, you have to actually prep upfront for your complex case. You need to know the peripheral anatomy, because absolutely Mauricio is right. You have to kind of make sure that you have access. Peripheral artery disease is going to be detrimental. Basically, this is just open for discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Carl. Jason? Great case. Looks like you've done your case. Perfect.
Sorry, I had to race out and do a quick STEMI. Yeah, covering for a colleague who broke his pelvis. So sorry, I had to skip out. But I think when it comes to complications, preparation is key. Not only the operator, but the entire cath lab staff. Everybody needs to be comfortable with all the devices that you use for a variety of different complications. And you need to know where the devices are in the lab, so people aren't running around for 5 minutes looking for a pericardiocentesis tray or a coil or a microcatheter. The last thing I'd say is get comfortable using some of these devices in non-emergent situations. I do every pericardiocentesis I can get my hands on, just so I'm quick and facile when I need to do it emergently. Use coils to coil off a coronary aneurysm or a vein graft or something like that, so you're very comfortable with the delivery devices and a variety of different brands and types of coils. And so that's what that would be my piece of advice, is get comfortable doing these procedures in non-emergent situations, so you can do them quickly and efficiently in emergent situations. And then finally, make sure that the lab is prepared and has all these devices, and everybody in the lab knows where they're at and can get them quickly for you in an urgent situation.
Awesome. Thanks. Thank you very much, Jason. And then finalize, last but not least, Jader Sandoval will give his final thoughts.
Yeah, I'll piggyback a little bit in Jason's comments. So our health system has 4 labs in the region, and each lab I go to has a slightly different equipment. And particularly, for example, as right now new fellows are taking new jobs or things like that, I think that one of the first steps is to just walk around the equipment alley and figure out what is the equipment, because coils, microcatheters, covered stents, everything varies from lab to lab. And I think it's important to familiarize with what you have so you can ask it when you need it.
Thank you again all for excellent presentations. They're all going to be live.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks, everybody. Manos, great job.
Thanks, everyone.